What's up, everybody? It's Man of Low Moral Fiber here. My name's Luke, and in this video we're going to be taking another look at the Trespasser as a part of my Does It Suck series. The Trespasser is a unique Jakobs sniper awarded for completing the animal rights quest in the Wildlife Exploitation Preserve, and that quest is given to you by Mordecai in Sanctuary after you complete the Wildlife Exploitation Preserve story mission. Regardless, this weapon, like many others, got a significant boost as a part of the community patch, and that's why we're taking another look at it. Starting here with the unpatched version of the weapon, I did say that this is, in almost all scenarios, one of the worst unique or high-tier snipers in Borderlands 2. There are two specific instances where this is an absolutely necessary or at least very, very helpful weapon, and that is against Pete and Voracidous. Other than that, though, this weapon does not serve too many uses in the unpatched version of the game, and we're going to be taking a look at why that is real quick. First, for reference, we do have the base damage accessory giving this rifle a Skookum prefix, and we're also using a Jakobs grip on it. The weapons we'll be comparing it to also have the same base damage accessory and a Jakobs grip for consistency purposes. We can see here that in the unpatched version of the game, the Trespasser does have the Hyperion barrel here with the vented barrel cover, and you can see that its base damage is actually below 1,000,000, which is a little bit of a shame for a Jakobs sniper here at overpower level 8. We can see that a Muck is going to be at 1.3 million, and then a Chinook, which actually also has the Hyperion barrel, is going to be almost at 1.1 million. And so if we compare the Trespasser to the Chinook, we can see that, yeah, the Chinook has a little bit more base damage, a little over 10% more, but the fire rate is the main difference there. And then comparing to the Muck, we can see that the base damage is very, very different, and the fire rate still 5 times as high. And so if we're shooting the Trespasser here, being a blue rarity Jakobs, you can see that every time, the character shoots it, you have to actuate that bolt action, and it takes a bit of time. The weapon does return to its original firing spot before you can shoot again, so I guess recoil really isn't a problem with this gun because it shoots so slow. That's with the legendary sniper comm, though. We'll switch on over to a chaotic evil rogue comm and see if that helps us shoot a little bit quicker. It does help us shoot a little bit quicker, but the fire rate is still significantly low, especially when compared to, say, a Muck, for example. A Muck with a chaotic evil rogue comm is going to shoot way faster than your recoil will allow for, because obviously it's a fairly jumpy weapon, and you actually have to slow down a little bit slower than what the fire rate will allow for to get the maximum potential out of the weapon. The Trespasser still shoots slower than the recoil recovers, so very slow firing weapon the Trespasser is, and obviously the low base damage is not very effective as well. But it does have a very, very unique special effect where it goes through shields, and this is actually an allusion to Mordecai in Borderlands 1, but this weapon here, allows you to take Pete's face shield off and kill the Chief in the Voracidous fight, which makes this weapon useful. It at least gives it a purpose, but it does definitely suck for all other situations, and I'm going to kind of show that here now. Also, the fire rate is so slow that with unpatched critical ascension, if you miss a couple shots in a row, you'll start to lose critical ascension, which is obviously very, very bad for the rifle. Regardless, you can see here that an entire magazine in, missing only one shot, I believe, we didn't quite kill this junk loader. And that's one enemy. Granted, we weren't using slag or deception, but yeah, that's pretty poor. Let's go ahead and apply the community patch and see how things have changed. So we're going to run through Washburn Refinery now with the patch, and we're going to take a look at how it might have affected the Trespasser real quick. The patch notes say that they have removed all penalties for the Trespasser and also given it a dull barrel. They've given it increased damage as well. You can see that it went from under 1 million to 1.9 million. So approximately double the base damage that it used to have. I think a little bit less than that, actually, because of it was like 0.98 million or something before. I don't exactly remember what it was before, but approximately double the base damage. It got a little bit faster fire rate from 0.5 to 0.6. And obviously now, compared to a purple here, if I can hit the right button, compared to a purple, we can see that it actually outdamages even the gemstone Muckamuck, and that's because blue sniper rifles, or blue Jakobs at least, were given a significant damage increase because of their ridiculously slow bolt action fire rate. So now we're going to be using a Chaotic Evil Rogue Comm. We could use a Legendary Sniper Comm to try to get one-shot, one-kills with it, but I think the Chaotic Evil Rogue Comm boosting that 0.6 fire rate here is going to be one of the best benefits for it, especially since it already has enough base damage that I think it should be killing things without a bigger boost to one-shot, one-kill while we're in Deception, especially once we work up an amount of Critical Ascension, which, you know, is definitely a big deal because Critical Ascension is a little bit easier to use now, especially with a slower fire rate sniper, because the stacks tick off a lot slower. And so now we're going to start here on our control dude and see if we kill him in under a mag. I would imagine that we would. Oops, if I don't miss all the shots, then we might be able to kill him in under a mag. I've only got 6 more here in the mag. Alright, can't see there for a second, so I was waiting that out. Perfect. So we can kill him in a magazine now, which is obviously better than it was doing before. Now let's see how it does when we use our full abilities here. Having slag and stuff for it, I still think it's going to be inferior to a Muckamuck or probably a lot of other Jakobs snipers, but I don't think it's completely trash at mobbing anymore, which it used to be beforehand. This guy wasn't really moving his shield for me, so I had to get through that. That's one of the situations where I think the Chaotic Evil Rogue Comm was benefiting us more than the Legendary Sniper would be, because as that guy was charging at me, I wouldn't have had time to get the second shot off if I wasn't using the Rogue Comm. Cool. Sounds like there's another exploder in here. We'll take the critical hit. I don't think we're going to kill him yet without slag, but that's not a big deal. Now, one of the things that makes the Trespasser's unique ability a little bit lackluster is that there aren't that many enemies with shields in Borderlands 2. And the enemies that do have shields traditionally have a lot more health than they have shield. And so the shield bonus isn't really that beneficial, or the shield trespassing bonus isn't really that beneficial, because there aren't too many enemies that really have a shield that you need to kill before killing them. It would be a lot more beneficial to switch to a shock weapon and then switch to a weapon of, you know, either a Jakobs or a matching element, fire or corrosive, to take out these enemies, or explosive, who knows, depending on which enemy you're trying to take out and which character you're playing. But this Trespasser here, it's not usually an effective mobbing scenario. I'm trying to think of any mobs that have like a bigger shield than they have health, and the only ones that I can't really think of any ones that have more shield than they have health. I guess one thing it might be useful for is like badass Marauders or something that have these special effect shields. You know, they have Nova shields or something like that that explode when their shields are depleted, which is a little bit irritating sometimes when you're playing Melee Zero, for example. But I guess theoretically you could get around that with the Trespasser if you just shot them in the head and they blew up. Maybe their shield never had a chance to deplete, therefore the Nova would never go off. But that seems like a pretty niche usage, you know. Plus, you could just scoot a little bit further from them and be out of their Nova range. So, I don't know. Just trying to think of one use here where that effect will come in handy when mobbing, and I'm not really sure that there's going to be too many uses for it when mobbing. However, that special effect is very, very unique. It's the only one that does that, and because of that, it's the best weapon, or a necessary weapon, I feel, to kill Pyro Pete with snipers with. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to critical hit him until you deplete his entire shield. So we do have an enemy with a shield here, and you can see that his shield did not deplete, and he did die. So, you know, there are enemies that have shields, and the Trespasser is going to be a more ideal weapon for those than another bolt-action Jakobs sniper would be, but meh, you know, it's still not that effective. We could have used, like, for example, a Shock Snyder and probably one-hit the R-Loader just the same. Regardless, the Trespasser's much, much better now. basically doubling its base damage and increasing the fire rate a bit, plus making critical ascension, you know, more viable with slow fire rate snipers, has made this weapon like actually viable for mobbing, which before I didn't really think that it was. Cool. So that guy's got his arm down. We'll go ahead and take the critical hit on him as well. I guess after we run through this, we'll also try to kill Pete just using the Trespasser, which before was obviously possible, but it took forever. Now that it's got, you know, twice the base damage, maybe it'll be a little bit quicker for us. One thing I will say is that with the community patch, it's a lot easier to knock off Pete's face shield. Before, it was a little bit difficult. You had to like use a one-shot sniper comm with +6 to one-shot one kill. You had to have a perfect B shield. You had to, you know, get him killed or make the shot at just the very end of your deception to actually knock off his face shield in one shot. Now, with double the base damage on this gun, you have a lot more margin for error, and you're going to knock off his face shield so long as he's slagged and death marked, basically. So that's pretty cool, and I would say slagged, death mark with a one-shot, one-kill shot from deception. You're definitely going to knock off Pete's face shield, which is huge, and that makes this weapon a lot better at taking out Pete. Not that Pete was the hardest raid boss to begin with, but it is a benefit of this weapon in the community patch. It made it better at, you know, one of the only things it was good at beforehand. So that's kind of cool. Pervy did die. This guy did not. Pervy must have lower health than some of those other dudes, even though he's technically kind of a boss. So Hurley actually has a shield, and maybe by killing Hurley, we won't, with the Trespasser, killing Hurley with the Trespasser, we won't knock off his arms, because I think his shield has to be depleted for his arms to be knocked off. And once his arms are knocked off, he's a lot harder to get a critical hit on, so maybe that'll be good for Hurley. Alright, so we got that one dead. This one has corrosive guns. Luckily, they don't have a super high fire rate. Perfect. So like I said, since Hurley has a shield, I think we're going to be able to take his entire health bar down through one shoulder without knocking his gun off, which sometimes you're not able to do. Unless you know, deal a ton of damage in one shot and kill him immediately, I guess. Oh, nope, still took his arm off. I was wrong. My idea was a mistake. We'll shoot him there and he'll die. So, that little theory has been totally debunked. He will still lose arms. I don't know. I had never really used the Trespasser that much on him beforehand, so I didn't really know. Cool. So we're going to kill this guy here as well. You can see that the weapon is a viable mobbing weapon now, which it obviously wasn't beforehand. So that's pretty cool. We ended on 69 stacks. Neato. I'm going to run over now to Pyro Pete's bar. I'll save you the sequence of me running through the beatdown, though. Didn't get anything from this chest. I'll catch you guys over at Pyro Pete's. Alright, so we're getting ready to give Pete our best shot here. I'm going to be using a, you know, level 1 Pimpernel here, just so that we don't deal any damage to him with any other rifle than the Trespasser, because this is kind of to see if the Trespasser and the critical ascension changes have made it possible to kill Pete at least somewhat quickly using a Trespasser. Before it was possible, it just required a significant amount of patience. You would never really run out of ammo because you couldn't shoot through ammo as quickly as these two little ammo stations would give it to you. And so long as you were hiding behind the scaffolding, you wouldn't catch Pete's DOT, so you'd never really need to release rats or spider ants, which is hopefully what we'll run into here. I will actually equip one rifle, a fire rifle though, so that we can't deal damage to Pete, just in case we have to bring out some spider ants. We'll see. Hopefully we don't. Now, used to, you would have to use a one-shot, one-kill sniper comm in order to, I should put on a B shield, actually, in order to get him killed quickly, or to knock off his face shield quickly, like I was talking about there. But we're just going to put on a B shield just so we do a little bit more damage. Cool. So it is starting to make a noticeable impact in his health bar, but obviously it is going to take some time. It's not a Lyuda. We can't put 3 bullets with 1 trigger pull into him. We can't get 3 B boost with 1 trigger pull. It doesn't have that sort of fire rate, but we'll take him down. One thing that we maybe should have done is had some melee gear so that when we got him into killing blow range, we'd be able to killing blow him, but wasn't exactly the case. We'll let him do that there, and I'll build up a little bit more critical ascension. Looks like we're up to 11 stacks now, which is pretty solid. Alright, so now we're real low on health. Never mind, I had some trannies coming. That's good. Alright. So, definitely still takes a long time to kill him with this low fire rate sniper. And interestingly enough, you can't run until you finish doing the bolt action on it, which is a little bit unfortunate because makes it a little bit more dangerous. He's still not super dangerous, but more dangerous nonetheless. Cool. He did actually get slagged there, which I was worried about because I didn't throw a slag grenade. I just threw kunai. Oh my gosh, can't run. Running back over here to the scaffolding now after I nab this critical hit, just so that when he goes into his next orb phase, we'll be ready for him. Breaking line of sight there so that we don't catch that corrosive dot. Obviously, without breaking his shield, he'll never do a double Nova, so that might be one of the benefits of taking him out this way, but you can see that one of the problems with it is that the slow fire rate just makes it take way, way too long. If I get away from that, that would be wonderful. Perfect. So he'll do his next Nova after his next orbs, so I'm just trying to slowly build up critical ascension here so that we can take Pete out a little bit quicker. Alright, so he did his Nova early there, but it happened to be a Fire Nova, and so that's where my Inflammable Shield has helped us out. We only really have to be super cautious with the Corrosive Novas, which are coming this time. Huh. Can't get a critical hit with that weapon, apparently. No worries. At 33 stacks of critical ascension now, we should start to actually be dealing some more noticeable damage to him as we go through here. Obviously, the higher that goes, the better we'll be. This is going to be his Corrosive Nova. We obviously want line of sight broken for this. I am getting low on grenades. I'll start opening some of those ammo boxes. Looks like we've got Pete to about half health now, which is good. Sometimes he chooses weird angles to attack you at. Makes it a little bit more difficult to get your consistent critical hits on him. Not a huge deal. I'm not worried about his next Nova because, again, we know it's a Fire Nova, so I'm going to stay near to these little boxes over here, which are hopefully going to have some grenades for me. Again, we know it's a Fire Nova this time, so not worried about it. He's definitely over half health down now, and his next Nova is definitely going to be a Corrosive Nova, so we'll want to be ready for that. He may jump over at us here instead of walking towards us. Nope, he decided to walk, which is good. Alright, he's probably getting ready to Nova, so I'll be prepared for that. I feel like he should definitely Nova here. Perfect. Break that line of sight. Use one of our transfusions there. Excellent. So his health bar actually moves a noticeable amount now when shooting him, because we are up above 60 stacks of critical ascension, which is fairly solid. We know that his next Nova is going to be a Fire Nova, so I'm kind of willing to sit out here in the open and get as many critical hits off of this as I can. Oh yeah, that took a big old chunk off of his name there. Should be a Fire Nova. We'll just sit here and shoot right through it. Pyro Pete, you know, being from a Torg area, somehow doesn't know about Maliwan shield resistances there, which is weird because all of the enemies near, or outside of his bar happen to carry Maliwan snipers and SMGs and stuff. Cool. So there goes Pete. He apparently counts as a bandit for the Morningstar quest, which is not irritating, interesting. Longbow meteor shower there, that's kind of cool. Doesn't have a good fuse time on it, so I'll let it be. Excellent. So as you can see now, even though it's still not a fast raid boss killer, the Trespasser is viable for mobbing. It's certainly not as sucky as a weapon as it was beforehand. I would say that it no longer has the stigma of being a weapon that is unviable in mobbing scenarios. How does it compare to other Jakobs snipers? Probably still inferior to like a Muck-a-Muck or something like that. You can see, if I can find it here, that the you know, Citrine Muck-a-Muck is going to have almost as much damage as a Trespasser. You know, 3/4 at least damage, and then it's got 4 times the fire rate. So I would still say we would have killed Pete a lot quicker using this gun and shooting him like this than we were when we were using the Trespasser and shooting kind of slower. But that's okay. You can see that the weapon is at least capable of killing Pete in a reasonable amount of time now, and it's at least a viable mobbing utility now as well, whereas before, it just kind of sucked. So Trespasser definitely doesn't suck anymore. Pretty solid weapon, definitely still a little bit less powerful in mobbing than certain other Jakobs snipers are going to be, but it has the very, very unique effect of dealing damage through shields, and it makes it an invaluable weapon for taking Pete's face shield off and killing the Chief in the Voracidous fight. So you need a Trespasser as Sniper Zero. You needed one before, but at least now it's not totally shitty. And the fact that its base damage has gone up significantly makes the best thing it does, which is knock Pete's face shield off easily, so much more easier to do. So, as always, guys, I thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. If you haven't yet taken the time to subscribe, please do so. Otherwise, I do hope to catch you next time. Bye, guys.